Wow, so my channel exploded. I kept saying I won't make more Deltarune videos, but this really gave my channel the final push it needed to finally get monetized. So I wanted to make one more in-depth video to show my gratitude. I went through every comment, running up all the Easter eggs I missed, while answering a few questions. This will mostly skim over Easter eggs included in the previous video, just to catalog everything I've found so far. As I've mentioned before, I had some issues getting certain Easter eggs to trigger, and I'm sure it's because I did things out of order. So for the purpose of this video, I deleted all of my saves and started with a clean slate from chapter 1. Not enough characters for my name. Perfect. By doing this, I also found a few new secrets as well, and some neat references. So let's get right into it. First off, at the end of chapter 1, visiting Asgore will make him gift you flowers to give to Toriel. If you do so, then check the trash can at the beginning of chapter 2, and you'll see that the trash can's floral scent has increased. Ansel also mentions that if you spoke to Noelle during the postgame in chapter 1, you can mention the fact that Susie likes to eat chalk. This will trigger a new event in the beginning, where she gives Susie a lunchbox filled with chalk. Looks like Ralsei isn't the only one in your group that blushes. They also brought up the fact that if you fixed the broken cake in chapter 1 and gave it back to the chef, you can collect spin cakes in chapter 2 as well. The spin cakes also get a buff and healing as well. Before leaving to get the trash orb, you can hug the dummy off to the right, and then speak to Susie to trigger a dialogue where she asks why you're hugging it in the first place. Also, Andre in the comments pointed out that the cliff to the left doesn't have a hole until you bring the denizens of the dark back. While you have the trash orb, you can go south to trigger a funny cutscene between alphys and Toriel, where alphys claims that you are normal. You can call Toriel at this point too, to trigger a humorous exchange. If you call her before their conversation, you will mention the trash orb. If you call Toriel after the conversation, Kris will claim to be normal. Also, a detail was added where Kris's eye can be seen when jumping into the dark world. You can see that Kris has red eyes. Alright, if you've beaten Jevil in chapter 1, you can talk to the shopkeep, who will appraise the shadow crystal on your person, and mention that he can stitch something together for you. Maybe. Next, have Circle mention that if you toss the manual in the first chapter, then you can see that Ralsei includes a trash can in your room, in case you decide to toss future manuals. Now I'm not gonna lie, I used one Odd Gamers footage in a previous video for Starwalker. Before you can leave, there's a cutscene where Lancer and Rules joins your party. But if you activated the Starwalker Easter egg in chapter 1, then Starwalker will not only join, but make a couple cameos during your journey as well. I included one Odd Gamers video linked below. Give it a click if you want to show them your gratitude. Also, just to quickly answer, no, you cannot toss the cards when you're back in the real world, and the lock is locked. One Easter egg I mentioned previously is the car's honking makes a reference to an Undertale song, the MTT intro, but you can also make out Spears of Justice and your best friend as well. Also, inspecting the lower car mentions a man waving happily at you. This can only be activated once as well. As you all should know, chapter 2 takes place in a library. Olaf brought the fact that in the previous chapter, you can see Toby working in the same library. A small hint at the next game's location. And many people pointed out that once Ralsei joins the party, you can see that he still blushes if you look at him long enough. You have to be really close though. Hacker is an interesting NPC that tasks you to find blue check marks. In the previous video, I mentioned that solving the puzzles will have them make cameos in your journey ahead. But also, many people pointed out that Sans has a chance to speak during the puzzles. It's a random occurrence, and judging from everybody's playthroughs, can happen during the icy puzzle or even during the simple apple puzzle. Only when you press the letter A though. During the fight with the DJ crew, a small callback is made. If you try to attack them instead of acting, then they'll practice self-health care, much like King Round in Chapter 1. Same milk icon and all. You can also end the fight faster by dropping Kris's HP to 0, which prompts your friends to learn their actions right away. Fun fact, Kris was dead when everybody was dancing, and they stayed dead during the cutscene as well.
At the start of the city, this delicious burger comments that when you acquire Noelle, you can rapidly spam the dog cones to get different dog squeaks to play. I've mentioned this twice, but I'm sure it is the same motif. The city's composition is based off of 74, a track performed by Itoki Hana and composed by Toby Fox, who provides backup vocals.
Don't despair, our heroes come to free you.
When following Noelle, most players are ambushed by these pop-ups. If you choose to click them, it will create one more to fight, but click again and you'll get so many that they end up crashing and you'll instantly win the fight. This city has a bunch of secrets. Pedro mentions that the first puzzle can be skipped if you keep trying to leave Noelle behind. If you keep examining the golden Berdly statue with nipples and crocs, Noelle will have a few things to say to you. In town, you can buy a mannequin that looks suspiciously like Spamton. It can be equipped as an armor, but doesn't do much beyond giving extra protection against projectiles from Neo Spamton. However, one quirk is the fact that you can try to use the loaded disk item on it, but all it does is squirm. And many probably already know by now, but taking a detour in the final traffic puzzle can lead to Kris getting run over by a dog. You spawn back in this hidden dumpster where you can eat moss, a reference to Chapter 1. It changes your title in the power menu too. If you eat it with Susie in your group, then you both can eat the moss. By eating it, you can get moss in your personalized room when you can return back to town. Also, this dumpster has a pillow in it, similar to the dumpster with Spamton later on. I'll get into more details with that later. Examining the 3 hints of the room in between, and just like the secret room in Chapter 1, if you keep re-entering this dumpster room, you'll have a small chance of appearing in this eerie room with a singular tree where you can obtain an egg. Let me skip ahead now and let you know that in Chapter 1, you can place it in the fridge in Asgore's flower ship. And in Chapter 2, after the adventure, you can add onto the eggs in Sansa's shop, where Susie asks if you just reverse stole. Steal? I stole an egg. Neo Sayori was also kind enough to let me know that visiting Temmie back in your classroom will also let you know how many eggs you have now. Right outside the dumpster room, you can examine one of the doors where you can see that it is the only door you can knock on in the entire city. During the Spamton fight, a flavor text reads, "Press F1 for help. Doing so will give you a health boost, but Marble's comment informed me that this actually works at any point during the battle. If you keep rejecting Spamton's deal, at the end he will grow just a little wider, up to about 3 times. If you end the battle through fighting, however, Spamton mentions that you should have done this earlier to earn a commemorative ring." This is an obvious reference to Noelle using free shock, but also a reference to the thorn ring he would have sold to you if you'd taken the weird route. Now do you see why that dumpster has a pillow? Also, side note, using violence on Spamton locks you out of his shop, and thus you can't activate the bonus boss later on. Also, speaking of the weird route, if you examine Lancer right when Noelle joins, he'll ask if you can turn Noelle into a bad guy. And during the weird route, you'll notice that examining Lancer again will show that innocent boys are asleep. Also, did you notice that Noelle's animations change when you acquire and equip the ice ring? She goes from being clumsy and scared to becoming more competent with her ice powers. And during the puzzle where you have to stand on the switch, if you let Noelle sit on the switch while you move past the electrical barrier, you'll notice that she's fidgeting in place. Her upcoming monologue reveals that she considered stepping off the switch to fry Kris. During the Berdly fight, you have to use Snowgrave to lock onto the weird route. During this, Berdly will only attack Kris before trying to reason with Noelle. And thanks to Super Saiyan 34 for letting me know that Noelle will comment on still hearing Kris's voice if he's dead. Also, bonus trivia, did you remember that Susie mentioning hearing the same thing when she breaks free from the castle's jail? Going back to the regular route, during the December puzzle, did you notice that Noelle's silhouette changes to a younger version while she passes one of the buildings? Also, if you have Starwalker in your key items, a humorous cutscene will play where he will join your party once more at the carnival games. Bonus points if you give the plush to Berdly for an extended team. And shortly after Susie gains Ultimate Heal, you can use it in the next battle for the ambulances to complement her new technique. You can also backtrack to town later with your new crew and buy some personalized tea. This is Chaotic ENTP's chart with the original tweet linked below. Kris doesn't respond, but their friends do comment on Kris's facial expressions. Meanwhile, Noelle seems to be really into Susie. Otherwise, drinking the character's own tea will make them think it's water. Also, thank you to Armored Animations for letting me know that the huge toilet used as a roadblock is actually a reference to Toby asking Temmie for a toilet sprite over Twitter, but it was too big.
Next up, we're in the Queen's Castle. Toriel points out that when you hear the Queen's laugh in the background music, the paintings of the Queen also laugh. Later, there is a small section where you have to get from one side of the room to the other while balancing a pot on your head. If you do so, you get a cool cutscene where Susie delivers a congratulatory punch, only for it to still fall and Susie to bail out on your party. Don't worry, she still joins you if you get in a fight. Coming back into that same room shows Susie disrespecting more pottery. Also, a nice little detail is that when you have the Devil's Knife or Devil's Tail equipped, then Task Manager will reference Devil's love for chaos and insist on order instead. Also, go back to your room to see all the shovels that Lancer ordered. At the specific segment, you can inspect the other doors to see rooms made for other people back in the real world. Initially, I thought this implied that they also dropped into the cyber world at some point, but these rooms were most likely made based off their accounts in the library's computer lab. During the battery acid rooms, you can head to the side to save a swashling, who will let you go if you disrespect pottery, but just this once. Also, I can't tell what's pouring down this acid bath. If you have any idea, let me know in the comments below. When fighting against rules, the machine he uses against you will depend on whichever design you went with in Chapter 1. Hunter LS also gave me this tip. When writing with Ralsei, and prompted to make a selection in front of the camera, choose to hug him. That way, later on, if you defeat the bonus boss and tell Ralsei that you're not okay, he will hug you. But only if you trigger this flag. Right before the fight with the queen, you go up against a wired Berdly. If you choose to keep attacking the queen instead, then Berdly will pry himself free. And then lose the usage of his arm. This carries on later when everybody wakes up, and Berdly's arm is now paralyzed. On to the bonus boss, head back to Spamton's shop at the trash zone. As most know already, you need to buy the keygen from him first. Home by Midnight also gave me the heads up that if you buy the keygen, then talk and select our deal, this happens. Once you access the basement in the mansion, there's a couple of creepy events. First off, Wayne Rose told me about the smiling hazards. You don't need to be in a phone call, just wait and see. Also, multiple comments pointed out this face that I didn't even notice. It fades just above the teacups. It took me a couple of tries, but the face seems to spawn best when you walk all the way to the other end, then try to come back ASAP before the teacups come up. During the fight with Spamton, people mention an exploit where you can hold enter and spam big shots, but after an update, it actually keeps track of this, and Spamton's face turns red when you use this exploit. Also, Kyle Kisuke confirmed that pressing F1 during this fight heals you as well. Same when you fight him solo in a weird route. Mark the Spark also linked me a video of a special event that occurs if you beat Neo Spamton with a full inventory. I was gonna link it, but by the time I've read this script, it's been removed. There is some additional lore for Spamton after the fight. The swashling shopkeep in the mansion mentions that the body in the basement was created by a lightener. You can backtrack to the previous custom-made homes too, where another NPC mentions that one of the rooms used to be Spamton's, but he spent most of his time in the basement. Backtracking to Spamton's closed shop also shows new NPCs that provide a bit more backstory to him, with the most notable trait being that Spamton left the phone off the hook that played garbage noise. Making any phone calls in the Dark World also prompts Kris to mention the fact that all you can hear is garbage noise. Now on to the postgame. There were a couple of things I missed. Just to give a brief mention, the shopkeep still keeps tabs on how many bonus bosses you defeated, which so far includes Jevil and Spamton Neo. It can also place the statues you've stolen from Noelle's room into your own rooms. Also, someone stripped Ralsei's dummy and dressed the mannequin up. Back in town, I had to delete my save to get Onion to finally spawn and tell us about the song Beneath the Ocean. If you didn't talk to Onion in Chapter 1, then you get Clam Girl instead, who mentions the missed event. But at least you get a cool scene where Kris and Susie sits calmly together while the wind blows. Also, the recent patch removed the placeholder text for the broken police desk. There is no text to activate now. When you get the box of chocolates from Undyne, you're supposed to gift it to alphys. But you can go back to Sans and refund it for $5. How heartless. And if you've done a weird route, you can visit the hospital and see Noelle visiting her dad. She does a monologue where she tries to persuade herself that it was just a dream, and as mentioned in my previous video, if you've unequipped her watch, she'll notice that you have it. But Anthony Collin mentioned something I missed. You can actually move during this, and Noelle will scream at you to stay back. Typically the screen is black, but when Susie pops back in, you'll notice that Kris had moved closer to Noelle. Okay, so this video took some time because I kept finding more things to toss inside. There were a lot more I wanted to include, but at a certain point it started to become more like a trivia or a theory video, so I had to spruce down a lot of things. For example, there are a lot of similarities between Mettaton and Neo Spamton. And there's a bunch of Mega Man references in the final fight. And then there's the reference with Ralsei dancing like Velma, or how the tree for the room in between is a reference to Chrono Trigger, or how Spamton's revive is a reference to classic Final Fantasy's revive animation. Also, it took me forever to find this dog in the menu and I lost it and I just Point being, there's a whole bunch of little discoveries being made every day, and there's probably going to be even more stuff uncovered throughout the years through modding or hacking. But yeah, thanks again for watching. I'll be going back to my wacky shenanigans on this channel now. Let me thank my guest voice actor real quick.
I'm Codename401, and I provided all of the audio for Go Galactic's video. I'm a big friend of Go Galactic. I'm also on YouTube. I'm also on Twitter. Check me out. Thank you.
But yeah, if you like this video, then maybe you'd like to hear about another game that may have had a large influence on Toby. Maybe. He's never said anything about it, but Undertale had a lot of similarities to a small indie game called Iggy. I made a video about it, but just to give you a small example, in Iggy, you can go through this 2D action platformer without killing anybody. But if you do kill enemies, Iggy will apologize at first.
I'm sorry.
And then she'll grow silent, and in time if you go out of your way to keep killing, she'll actually enjoy it and grow more confident.
You die.
I mean, this is an obvious parallel to how Noelle grows more confident through her own violent path. And I've done creepy secret videos in the past too. Why not check out this Halloween video I made about It'll Do? I was kind of recovering from the kidney donation back when I was making that video, and I was just kind of going crazy and yeah. Anyways, thanks again for watching and sticking around to the end. See ya!